The desert stretched out like an endless ocean of rust and bone, the kind of place where sound seemed to die before it could travel. 4 friends were driving across Nevada, chasing a route that promised shortcuts and adventure. Their names were Josh, Amanda, Tyler, and Brooke, all restless 20-somethings who thought they could handle the silence of the wasteland. The heat pressed down on the car, shimmering waves rolling over the hood, when Brooke spotted at first a cluster of crooked buildings rising in the distance. "Look," she said, pointing through the windshield. "That's not on the map." Josh slowed the car, his eyes narrowing as the outlines sharpened. A row of wooden storefronts slumped against the horizon, signs long faded, glassless windows staring like dead eyes. Tyler pulled out his phone, trying to check the location, but there was no signal. Amanda leaned forward between the seats, her voice thick with unease. "It's a mining town, looks abandoned." Curiosity outweighed caution, and soon their tires crunched over gravel as they rolled into the forgotten place. The sign at the town's entrance still clung to its post, riddled with bullet holes. "Raven's Hollow Est. 1872. One of the letters dangled on a single nail, swaying in the hot wind. The town was dead. Silence poured from every broken door, every shattered window. The streets were covered in sand and grit, as if the desert had been slowly swallowing the place whole. But something about it felt wrong, too still, too preserved, as though time had abandoned the people here, not the other way around. "Creepy as hell," Tyler muttered, stepping out of the car. His boots kicked up dust that shimmered like ash, but badass. They split up, moving among the skeletal remains of the town. Amanda entered a saloon, its swinging doors rotted and stiff. Inside, the smell of mold and iron clung to the air. Tables were overturned, poker chips scattered across the floor as if a game had been abandoned mid-hand. Behind the bar, bottles of liquor had long since evaporated, but the floorboards were stained a dark rust red. Amanda crouched, running her fingers over the wood. The stains weren't old wine. They weren't even just stains. When she pulled her hand back, her fingertips were tacky, as if the blood had never really dried. Brooke wandered into the general store, its shelves lined with cracked jars of preserves, their contents black and gelatinous. A cash register sat, frozen mid-transaction, drawer open with coins still inside. On the back wall, scratched into the wood with desperate hands, were words that stopped her breath cold. "Let us out." Her flashlight beam trembled as she traced the letters, noticing. The grooves were darkened with something thick, not ink, not paint. The faint coppery smell was unmistakable. Outside, Josh pushed through the entrance of the old mine office. Papers lay scattered across desks, covered in dust but legible. The topmost file was dated July 1893. It told of collapses in the mine, of missing workers, of whispers in the shafts that drove men to madness. He read aloud to himself, his voice echoing. Workers claim to hear voices. Digging continues, but bodies keep disappearing. Families demand answers. The report ended with a single line scrawled in frantic handwriting. "We should never have dug here." Tyler had found the mine entrance itself, yawning wide at the edge of the town like a mouth frozen mid-scream. The wooden supports were blackened as though burned from the inside out. Ropes hung limp from beams, frayed and stained, some tied into nooses that swung slightly, though there was no wind. A chill spread down his spine as he noticed the ground small fragments of bones scattered like gravel. When the 4 regrouped, the sun had dipped lower, shadows stretching long and sharp across Raven's Hollow. Josh held the mining reports under his arm, his face pale. "This town didn't just close," he said. "Something happened here. Something bad." Amanda glanced at the horizon. Their car sat in the distance, a solitary lifeline to the world beyond. but somehow it felt farther than it should have been. "We should go, now." But then the sound came. Faint at first, like shovels scraping rock, then whispers. Dozens of voices murmuring at once, too quiet to make out words, but too loud to dismiss as imagination. The sound drifted from the mine, curling through the air like smoke. Brooke shook her head, clutching her arms. "Tell me you hear that." They did, every one of them. The first scream erupted moments later. It wasn't human. It was ragged, raw, like metal grinding against bone. From the mouth of the mine staggered shapes, their outlines human but twisted. Their faces were wrong jaws unhinged too wide, eyes gouged out and black sockets dripping down their cheeks. Skin torn and stretched thin, ribs poking through like broken beams. They carried tools, rusted pickaxes, shovels, drills all slick with a sheen of blood that had no business being fresh. Amanda screamed, and that broke the trance. They ran. The town came alive around them. From the windows and doorways crawled more figures, miners whose bodies had been chewed up by rockfalls and machinery, crushed skulls caved in, arms bent backward at impossible angles. One man dragged himself on his hands alone, his lower half a shredded smear that left a glistening trail. Another had nails hammered through his lips, pinning his mouth shut as blood bubbled from his nose. Josh shoved open the saloon doors, and they piled inside, slamming the rotten wood closed. The air was suffocating, heavy with rot. Something dripped from the ceiling, splattering on Amanda's shoulder. She glanced up and shrieked above them. Bodies dangled from the rafters, their throats slit ear to ear. Some were fresh enough that crimson still oozed, pattering onto the floor in sticky droplets. Brooke gagged, pressing her sleeve to her mouth. Tyler cursed under his breath, pacing like a trapped animal. The whispers seeped through the walls, a chorus of overlapping voices. They were words now, hissed and went. Stay with us, dig with us, bleed with us. The door shuddered under a heavy blow, then another. The wood cracked. They bolted through the back, stumbling into an alley choked with shadows. Tyler's flashlight beam caught a glimpse of movement, the shape of a miner crawling out of the ground itself, fingers snapping as they clawed through dirt. His skull was caved in on one side, brain matter sloughing down his cheek. He grinned, teeth shattered to jagged stumps before lunging. Tyler swung his flashlight like a club, bones cracking on impact, but the miner didn't stop. Josh grabbed a rusted pipe from the ground and drove it through the creature's chest. It shrieked, spraying blackened blood that steamed as it hit their skin, burning like acid. Tyler screamed, clutching his forearm as smoke curled from the wound. They fled, dragging him along. The street seemed longer now, buildings stretching impossibly far, the car shrinking into a speck. Amanda sobbed as they ran. "We're not getting out. We're not." Her words cut off as she tripped. Falling hard, Brooke spun to help her, froze. Amanda was being dragged backward, hands bursting from the dirt to seize her ankles. Dozens of them, pale and skeletal, yanking her toward a gaping crack in the ground. She clawed at the dirt, nails ripping bloody. Josh lunged to grab her wrists, pulling with everything he had. For a moment, she held on, their eyes locking in terror. Then, with a wet snap, the skin tore from her arms like gloves peeled off too fast. Josh staggered back, screaming as he held nothing but flesh, while Amanda was pulled screaming into the earth, bones cracking as the ground sealed over her. Brooke shrieked, covering her mouth. Tyler vomited bile onto the dirt, the acid smoke still hissing from his arm. The whispers swelled into laughter, mocking and hungry. They ran. Desperation fueled them as they barreled toward the car. Shapes closed in from all sides, shambling horrors dragging chains, dripping with gore. One swung a pickaxe, the blade carving a line across Brooke's back, spraying red into the air. She screamed, stumbling but still moving. Blood soaked her shirt, every step painting the ground behind her. Josh fumbled the keys from his pocket as they reached the car. His hands shook so violently he dropped them once, twice, before slamming them into the lock. They piled inside, slamming doors, the engine coughing to life. Tires screeched as he floored the gas, the car lurching down the road. For a moment, relief surged. The town shrank in the rearview mirror, silhouettes fading into the dust. Brooke sobbed in the back seat, clutching her bleeding back. Tyler was pale, sweat dripping down his face as the burn spread up his arm, veins blackening like ink dot. Then Josh glanced at the mirror again, and his blood turned to ice. The town wasn't shrinking, it was closer. Closer than it had been before. Buildings leaned over the road like vultures, their windows gaping. The car wasn't moving forward at all. The world outside repeated itself like a loop, the same broken storefronts, the same crooked sign, the same mine yawning wide. Brooke's sobs turned hysterical. "We're not leaving. Oh God, we're not leaving." The car screeched to a halt, tires burning rubber, but they were right back where they started. Raven's Hollow loomed around them, unchanged. Waiting dot figures surrounded the car now, hundreds of them. Faces mangled and grins stretching too wide. Their tools dripped red onto the dirt, pooling like rainwater. Josh locked the doors, though he knew it was pointless. The first pickaxe shattered the driver's window. Hands poured in, cold and slimy, yanking him screaming through the glass. His body hit the dirt outside with a crunch, limbs twisting as they dragged him into the swarm. Tyler tried to climb over the seat, clawing at the opposite door, but it ripped open. A miner with a crushed skull grabbed his head and slammed it against the frame until bone gave way, splitting open like a ripe fruit. The others piled on, tearing him apart, intestines unraveling like wet rope. Brooke, bleeding and trembling, scrambled across the seats, her face pressed to the opposite window. She didn't scream. She just cried, tears streaking her blood-stained cheeks as a voice whispered in her ear, so close it was inside her head. "Stay with us." The glass shattered, and darkness consumed her. By morning, the town was empty again, silent, waiting. The desert wind carried no sound as the sun.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.